What's up, YouTube? It's Joe Catchpolia sitting on the couch, making some money investing in fractional real estate online, as usual. It's Friday morning, so it's time for this week's installment of the 52-week challenge. If you don't know what that is, I'll have a link at the end to the playlist for the 52-week challenge. If you watch the first video, it just explains what we're doing. And in a nutshell, just trying to, there's a bunch of us that are just have been sharing what we buy each week, just to keep us motivated to sort of avoid that analysis paralysis. Make sure you're just actually pulling the trigger, buying deals, and not just, spending endless hours analyzing stuff but never actually investing. This has not been a problem for me on any of the fractional real estate sites. I feel like every single week I found something to buy, although some weeks it's less than others. Um, One thing I wanted to make sure is clear, every week when I do this, you guys see me buy typically a number of things on Lofty, sometimes a couple of things on ground floor. And then, maybe once a week or once every couple of weeks, I'll buy something on Mogul and Sol's Lot even less often. And I want to make sure it's clear that how often I'm purchasing stuff on each site doesn't mean that that's the site that I think is the better value or anything like that. So, for example, I keep buying stuff on Lofty, but I'm not putting more money on that platform right now. Everything that I buy comes from liquidating other properties, or the rents that I'm receiving in there, but mostly liquidating other properties. Lofty is a platform where I'm really just making money on the trades. It is, there's, although this one I'll tell you about in a minute, I think is one I'm pretty happy with if I end up holding on to it long term. But I'm in and out of a lot of properties on there, and so it's not when you see me buy two or three different properties on Lofty every week, it doesn't mean that I think that those are better. That's the better opportunity. I've just put a certain amount on there, and to the extent I'm allowed to trade able to trade it and make profits, that's what I'm doing on there. On ground floor, I'm only at the moment, and I think I've talked about this a few times. I've actually taken some money off of there, but at the moment I'm only reinvesting whatever pays off. And so some weeks I've had a lot of payoffs, and so I reinvest more. And some weeks, and sometimes I've had so much that I couldn't reinvest at all, at least not at the minimal amount I want to have per LRO. And then, on Mogul, I'm investing much less often because there is no, trading going on. But it's the only one that I'm actually actively putting new money on. Well, Mogul and Saul's Lot, whenever Saul's Lot does have a new DAC coming up, I'll be putting more money on there. It is, so I want to just make sure that's clear. Oh, and by the way, please like and subscribe. In the description to this video, I have links to all the sites where I currently invest in fractional real estate online. Some of them will give you free money if you invest. Some of them will tell you that you get free money just for signing up and won't actually give it to you, or say they will sometime in the future. But, so you want to do your own due diligence on those platforms and on any of the properties um, that you see on those platforms. Just because I buy something doesn't mean it's a good deal. And just because I pass on something doesn't mean it's not a good deal, right? So I did a couple videos on this property, and this is not one that I bought this week, but I just wanted to do one more update on this. This is a property on Mogul. They're very close to selling out. This has only been live for like 24 or 48 hours. They did their VIP launch, or their launch on the webinar a couple of days before that. They're, I think, raising 332,000 or something like that. 332,000, and they only need 28,000 more. So this one's selling out real quick. So I just wanted to give one final update about it. I had asked some questions about the permitting and how it doesn't, how it's the description doesn't match up with the public records and whatnot. Alex got back to me and just let me know that that's something that they always have. They've had that question out to confirm during their due diligence process. Yeah, I believe that that's what they're doing, right? These guys seem to know exactly the things that they need to check. And so I just asked them, hey, maybe we could start, they could start sharing that somewhere, the things that they do check on every single property, because it's come up a few times where I'm like, I don't know what's going on here, and without knowing if it's something that they're addressing, it's hard to want to pull the trigger. I think so far, every time I've asked them something, it's something they've already either thought of, are looking into, are dealing with. which is very reassuring. It makes me have a lot of confidence in their platform. Um, but just having that information somewhere where every time if I'm looking at a deal and I have a question about something, I can look at their checklist and be like, okay, this is something they're not going to close unless I know they've done this. It'll be super helpful, right? And so that's, I don't know. I asked him about that. He said he's going to think about it. But in general, I mean, it's something, I'll just always check, right? I'll check if in some way, I just need to be certain about some of the things that I think are just like kind of common traps, because there's plenty of people who would just go buy this property as an investment, not even think to look at that, right? And their agent's not going to tell them. I mean, I see stuff like this happen all the time. I'll get a listing from somebody who bought something from another agent, and they'll have bought it having no permits whatsoever for this massive renovation, and then we have to deal with it before we sell it, right? That sort of thing comes up quite a bit, and so anyway, I didn't end up buying any of this, but I just wanted to mention that. Um, Honestly, I still think it's a better deal than 95% of the stuff that you could buy on Lofty, at least at their par value. Obviously, I'm putting money back to work on a lot of those properties, but it's just when I can catch the discounts. And so that's why, even though I'm skipping this one, on average, I'm buying two out of every three that they put out. Honestly, I think you wouldn't get hurt if you bought some of every single one. I think you could do that and be perfectly fine. But again, do your own due diligence, right? You want to make sure that just because I'm comfortable with their answers and stuff, you want to make sure that it's an investment that works for you and that you're comfortable with that. Okay, but so jumping into what I actually bought. I bought just a couple of tokens in this one, South Solano Drive. This is one, I think this is Ario is the co-owner. I own one other property of his that I've had, I think that I've just held on to the whole time. It's had pretty solid yields, although they dipped in the last couple months. On both of these properties, his yield dipped because he had some CapEx items or some repairs. Uh, I think that the yield is going to go back up on the 15th. I got these, like 47 or $48, which, these have traded as high as like $72 at some point. Is that true? I think it is. 70, yeah, 71, 71 there. There we go. Oh, even higher. Up, in March these were at $79, right? Like it's insane. Nothing serious has changed at the property, right? They're just the yield gets shut off for a little bit because whatever is happening, right? Some maybe it's turnover, maybe there's some repairs. I don't remember exactly what the issue was here, but it should, there should be, and it didn't even drop to zero. I mean, we're in some rental yield. So it's absolutely absurd for the price to swing so wildly. And that, like I said, I mean, that's why I've stayed on Lofty with the money that I have on there is I'm just making good profits trading these, right? I bought it at 40, let's say 40, less than $50 all in, with fees, or maybe right around 50 with the fees. Uh, I'm sure this will be a $60, $65 token again sometime in the future. I'll sell it then, and then if it dips again, I'll buy again. I've done that with this particular property at least one other time and maybe more. I really just think that's the opportunity on Lofty, right? There's a lot of money to be made with these trades. This is one that I think you could hold long term and not be hurt by it. I mean, he does plan to pay off the debt, which would dilute the yield quite a bit. But even after everything's said and done, um, Lofty calculates it would be a 7.37% cap rate. I feel like I had done math on this one, and I don't think that one's actually too far off on this one. But I think, for a multifamily property um, that's run by a co-owner that just seems to be doing a great job, he's responsive. He's a, I think he's only got three properties on the platform, maybe four, I don't know. But this is the second one that I own. Um, yeah, I think if I were to just buy and hold something, this would be one that I will, but the price just moves so wildly on it. Um, it just makes, it's hard to just pass up those big profits and then buy it again when it dips. So anyway, that's what's going on with that one. Um, I bought just a couple more, and this is funny. It says I own three, right? But I have 100 for sale, and then I also have some in the pool. So this is one. I think I own actually 190 tokens in this now. So I only bought one or two more. Um, we're probably evicting the current tenant on here. We'll see how that actually goes. But this is one that I just, I think it's a deep value. It's one that I'm trying to buy a bigger, I told you a while back I did a video specifically on this property. If you didn't see that, it's just named this address name, about, what I'm doing with it, why I'm putting more into this than any of the others that I've bought. I just decided to pick one and really go for it, put money in the liquidity pool, really try to see, um, having a bigger stake in, if I can make a deal work. And watch that video if you're interested in why I've been buying this one up. But so almost every single week you see me buy some tokens in this. And then the only other thing I bought this week is some LROs. So on ground floor, I think one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. I thought I bought nine. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. Yeah, just eight. And again, this just came from payoffs. So now I do have 90 loans on here. I'm starting to get to where I'm able to get some broader diversification. That's the most I've bought in a while, I think. I think until recently I was, I think of, five or six was the most where I used to be able to get more. If I can get this number and somewhere around 150 without them doing another big payoff again, um, I'll probably start putting more money on here, right? Like this is the way I like to use this platform is to just buy a little piece of every single one. Over time, as I get a little bit more comfortable with how their grading works and how some of the other issues with like the info that we get on the property, I might adjust that some. But I think a lot of times with these debt portfolios, and especially where it's short term, I don't want to do a ton of due diligence on each investment because no matter what I do, it's gonna be paid off in 18 months or something like that, assuming things go well. And some of them much shorter, right? And so where I have to reinvest really pretty constantly, um, I think getting that, broad diversification of these LROs is a better strategy than doing too much due diligence on each one. Now, I do look at them. Well, some of these actually have just been done with the auto investor. Uh, and usually I do go back and look because you can like undo it for a short period of time, and I go back and look and try to make sure like there's not anything huge that wants me to kick one out. um, but even if it does, it's such a small piece of the overall portfolio. I feel like I'll do okay. Now if you look, I don't have any that are in default or extended or anything now. I've had 17 extended out of all the ones. So this is all my paid off ones, right? I've been on this platform less than a year. I have 126 that paid off and only 90 current, right? That's because they paid off so many early. Not the actual borrowers, but ground floor did it. Some of them were paid off early by the borrowers, but so um, that's where what led to my initial frustration with the platform, right? I'm trying to build a big portfolio and got wiped out. But so back to 90, never had any default, had 17 extended, but all of them paid off, and we actually got a higher rate of payment than expected because of the terms, whatever happened when they got extended. So overall, I mean, I'm actually getting paid out well on these. I haven't had, I know some people have talked about having a lot of defaults. I just haven't seen it yet. It is pretty new, but so far I've cycled through 126, or well, I mean, actually these two together, right? These were all paid off. So 130, 143 that have paid off, and I've only got 90 open at the moment. So I don't know. I mean, if they don't go and do that again, where they like just take away, half my portfolio and just give me cash for it. Somebody asked in the comments, not maybe of last week's, why that's a problem. And I want to make sure it's clear. So when they pay it off early, you don't get paid for the interest that you would if it was held to maturity, right? You just get paid for whatever was owed up until the date they paid it off. And so then I'm sitting here with, like on mine, I only had 15,000 in here, but I ended up with like $7,000 in cash, and I was able to reinvest a little of it right away. But I just moved a little over 5,000. I actually think I might have taken 6,500 off or something. I don't know, somewhere around there. Just took it off because it was sitting there and there was nothing to reinvest in. And so, um, and they had done it one other time for a smaller portion of my portfolio. And so the problem with that is if having the idle cash in a platform like this where the if I don't keep it invested the whole time, I'm never going to have returns like what I'm expecting to have. And it just really felt like they're trying to push people into their flywheel portfolio. Like their marketing really pushes towards this. Their response when I asked them about, what's happened, they're like, oh, if you're really just looking for diversification, just get in the flywheel portfolio. But I don't want to be in this flywheel portfolio. Like I think that for me, it is not, it doesn't make as much sense so all they're doing is they're also just broadly diversifying. You get more diversification day one, but hopefully you should be able to get similar diversification just by buying on your own, and you're paying them a fee for that, right? And then sometimes, like if you look at the portfolio, sometimes some of the loans that they have in here make up a huge, it's not nearly as diversified as you think, right? Like it's got a little bit in this loan, and then it's got uh 1.5 million in this, right? Like um I don't know. So I'd much rather just do it where I'm putting a little bit in every single one. So that was just a little bit of a frustration, but I think it really is, it does hurt your returns for that if they do that, right? It's not as if it's just like, oh, I have to do the work to reinvest because there weren't enough LROs to reinvest in. So yeah, I just want to make sure that was clear. I know somebody had asked about that, but anyway, that's everything I bought this week. Please jump in the comments or into the Discord and share what you bought. And I know most of you just feel more comfortable DMing me, and that's perfectly fine too. I love just having that private discussion of what you bought, what your strategies are. You're always welcome to do that. It seems like that is most people's preference. We've kind of got to the point, I don't know that anybody's really sharing in the Discord or in the comments what they're buying on a regular basis anymore. But that's fine. I mean, the goal really is to just share what I'm doing, and then all the people that like to talk to me in private about it, I'm happy to do that because people have interesting strategies. They're doing different things, have different ways of looking at some of this stuff. Sometimes I think some of you guys are crazy, but if that's true, I usually tell you. So it's not like I'm just secretly judging you. I judge you out loud. Um, I think that's it, though. I think that's everything I wanted to cover. There is the collab webinar coming up in a couple minutes, but this video will probably just barely be published, so you'll probably miss that. I think I'll do a recap video on that coming up tomorrow, but we'll see if they actually have any good info or not. Anyway, that's it for me for today. Until next time, I will just keep making mistakes so that you don't have to.